and welcome to a new video about Essentials. Infinity is the sci-fi skirmish game that recreates the ultimate futuristic combat simulation. Let's look at an example. It's time for a demo game. Before the game begins, players must make a face-to-face roll of their lieutenant's willpower. Both players roll a die. The winner can choose between deployment or initiative. The player who chooses initiative decides who will have the first player turn. The player who chooses deployment can decide who deploys their troops first and in which deployment zone they do so. The JSA player wins the initiative roll and decides to go first. Therefore, the Pano player decides that JSA will deploy their troops first. A Keisotsu Butai will be deployed here, another Keisotsu here, and the Shikami on this corner. The Pano player then does the same, already aware of the JSA starting positions. A Fusilier here, another Fusilier here, and the Orc troop up here. Player 1 has 3 orders, since he has 3 units deployed. The active player declares which unit he is activating, removes the order from the table, and declares the first short skill, Move. Player 2 does not declare an ARO because the JSA advance is happening behind this building. Player 1 declares Move again as the second skill of the order and moves 4 inches. There is no ARO. With the second order, Player 1 declares Move again and moves to the corner of the building in cover. Player 2 declares the BS attack ARO with the 2 units that gain line of fire. Player 1 also declares a BS attack and spreads her combi rifle burst. Once the actions have been declared, the players measure the distance and see that they will have a +3 modifier for range that will be balanced by the -3 modifier for partial cover. The Keisotsu fires with a success value of 11. The Fusiliers fire at 12. In this confrontation, the 8 is canceled by the other 8, a tie. In the other face-to-face roll, we have a 14 that is a missed shot and a 7, which is the highest success. Therefore, it wins the roll. This Fusilier must make a saving roll for the impact received. Any result of a value of 11 or less will result in a successful saving roll, avoiding damage. The die shows a 17. Therefore, the troop falls unconscious. With the last order, the active player points to this Keisotsu and decides to declare Move from this spot towards the next piece of terrain. Player 2 declares ARO as a BS attack, and as his second short skill, Player 1 declares Dodge. The Fusilier suffers a range modifier of -3, his die goes to 9. The Keisotsu rolls a die using its physics value. The Keisotsu successfully dodges. He can now displace himself up to 2 inches without generating ARO. Once the active player has spent his order pool, the initiative passes to the PanOceania player. With 2 conscious troops on the table, the blue player has 2 regular order tokens. The Fusilier decides to idle in front of the 2 Keisotsus, with whom he has line of fire, just to see what they declare. Both AROs are BS attack. It is then that the Fusilier decides to spread his burst with both enemies. The shooting goes in favor of PanOceania. Both Keisotsus take hits. This Keisotsu fails its saving roll and falls unconscious. This Keisotsu must make a saving roll. It is successful and decides not to make the guts roll. This forces him to lose the line of fire. The Keisotsu is now proned. Regarding line of fire, only his base will be considered. With the other regular order available to the PanOceania player, the Orc descends from the height he was at, and he moves again until he is positioned on this spot. New round. JSA has 2 regular orders. By consuming the first order, the Keisotsu moves prone and stands up at the end of its movement. It enjoys partial cover and gains line of fire. The Fusilier's ARO is BS attack, as well as the Keisotsu's second short skill. On this occasion, the Fusilier receives 2 hits. He must make 2 saving rolls. Although the 7 is a success, the 14 is a failed roll, and the Fusilier falls unconscious. By consuming his last order, the Shikami moves, and moves again until he reaches this spot. PanOceania's turn. The Orc now has only 1 regular order. He moves and gains line of fire with the Keisotsu, who declares BS attack as his ARO. Both exchange shots. The Keisotsu is hit multiple times. Its saving rolls are unsuccessful. The Japanese soldier is killed. The initiative now returns to the JSA. The Shikami has a single regular order. The soldier moves and opens fire on the orc, who AROs with BS attack. The Shikami is a difficult target in a ranged combat because he has the ability Mimetism -6, which imposes a negative modifier on all enemy rolls that target him. The orc receives multiple hits. His saving rolls prevent some damage, but he still suffers 1 wound. The orc decides not to make the guts roll and displace himself to the nearest cover, thus moving away from his enemy. The orc now has the initiative. His only order is to unleash his full burst on the Shikami. The Shikami's ARO is to dodge because he wants to get as close to the orc as possible. A blue die marks exactly the success value that the orc was rolling for. Critical hit. The orc delivers a normal hit and a critical hit on the Shikami. This means 3 saving rolls must be made because the critical hit adds an extra roll. The Shikami, the last JSA figure standing, fails his saving rolls. He falls unconscious. Victory for PanOceania. You have just witnessed a small skirmish demo game that is contained in the Essentials box, Start Here, the gateway to Infinity N5. This has been a tiny sample of a bigger world. Imagine a battlefield with paratroopers, invisible ninjas, giant robots, unstoppable bikes, and much more. This has been a demo video from Corvus Belli for you. Keep connected.